Hello and welcome to Sex in the News. We are the Siegel Brothers. Tonight, we have a few stories for you. The South Carolina governor just signed a 6-week abortion ban into law. We will then look at an article from The Scientist and how sex promotes lasting memories in female flies. We will then look at a report from the Kinsey Institute that shows that orgasms are not a universally positive experience for people. And then for our last item, we will talk about how LGBT plus British military members who have been dismissed over their sexuality are actually getting their medals back and getting their honors reinstated. So, for our first story.
Yes, well, this is, another in a long line of many. And, it hasn't gotten a lot of attention recently with obvious other distractions. But historically, one of the supposedly pillar differences between Republicans and Democrats has always been about states' rights. A lot of people don't realize even Roe v. Wade is not expressly just making abortion legal or illegal. There is that whole personhood thing that actually goes back to the Old Testament. But ultimately, what would happen should that day come, and with Trump's partying with the Supreme Court bench, it may be closer than we think. Not that it would likely be overturned in our lifetime. But if it would just go back to like it was before 1973, when it was a state's matter. So abortion was legal in some states, like liberal states, like New York and California, and illegal, especially in Bible Belt states and through, most of the
Midwest.
Most of the middle of the country.
Yeah.
So, this has never really stopped since 1973. But here again, the latest example, the South Carolina Republican governor signs into law a 6-week abortion ban. This falls under the banner of what's always been referred to as fetal heartbeat laws, stating that as soon as a heartbeat is detectable, what they used to call, hundreds of years ago, the quickening. Yeah. Right? All bets are off, can't do an abortion anymore. Doctors performing an abortion in violation of the law face up to 2 years in prison. And this is serious business because, again, it's this endless chipping away at a woman's right to choose when and whether she will be pregnant and have a child.
And if I can add, too, part of this ban, this 6-week abortion ban, a couple of things that also are important to point out. Number one, if a doctor, they do allow for exceptions for rape and incest, but if a doctor is going to perform an abortion because of rape and incest, they have to report that to the local sheriff's department within 24 hours and give the name and all the information of the woman that's having the procedure. It has to be reported. Now, for me,
for privacy, right?
Exactly. Now, for me, the most important point in all of this, and there are now 10 states that have these so-called fetal heartbeat laws. And they have this ban at 6 weeks, which is before most women have any idea they're even pregnant.
Right. But most pregnancies are detected 4 to 6 weeks.
It's also far earlier than there is a heart. let's just acknowledge that reality.
Right.
At 6 weeks, at 8 weeks, there ain't no heart for a beat. What they're looking at is primordial cells that begin to function to push these blood cells through this massive tissue.
If an embryo is growing and dividing, it needs
nourishment.
It needs nourishment.
Right.
So it's like these, the same old poetic crap that the heart is the seat of our emotions and love. And if there's a heartbeat, it's a living thing. We can't.
Right.
It's like a poppy seed.
Yeah, no, and it's ridiculous. All of those laws are ridiculous. And I'm going to repeat something that we have said before, I think even last week. If you really do not support a woman's right to choose, if you really do not believe that abortion should be a procedure that women take advantage of, then let's all work together not to make it illegal, but let's make it unnecessary.
Right.
Let's support good sex ed.
So, yeah, how do we make abortion less necessary? By advocating for a good sex ed, and everybody on every side of the issue get behind birth control, which prevents unintended pregnancy, which is the reason why we have the highest abortion rates in the world, in the industrialized world.
Exactly.
It's nonsense to go. It as usual. It's like after the damage is done, going to get all upset and punish someone instead of trying to work on the prevention end.
Right.
So you would think
be smart.
It's common sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Let's do it rationally. Again, one of the reasons why we do have so many problems related to sex is because we are so irrational.
Do you remember that stupid law that we had in Florida back in the 90s?
You have to be more specific than that.
I know. It was back in the 90s, and I think it was Representative Warner that wrote it, and it was called the Mama Bill.
Yes.
Making adult males accountable. This was an effort at doing something about, statutory rape, I suppose.
Yes.
The law said that if a girl 16 or under was impregnated by a guy 21 or older, then look how misguided this is. Stupid fucking politicians. The woman could not get prenatal care, WIC, any kind of services for a healthy pregnancy and safe delivery unless she ratted out the guy who impregnated her, and he was prosecuted under statutory rape laws.
Right. Now, at the same time, if you want to keep it a secret, feel free to dump that baby off at a fire station.
Right. Don't put it in a dumpster.
Right.
Bring it to the fire station. Right. We won't ask any questions.
Or just leave it on the side and call somebody and let them know that's there. That's okay.
Right.
But preventing that pregnancy in the first place is not okay. Right? Yeah, we're so
We'll go back
up.
to the days of orphanages with the spinny, put the baby in and turn the thing, and the nuns would take it on the other side and whisk away into the night.
God, we're going backwards in so many ways. It really is. So let's something a little nicer.
That's right. Last week we had
feel better.
We had some fun last week with a little science nerd piece on sperm that attack other sperm.
Yes.
In that same vein, we have a very interesting piece. A finding that showed that female flies seem to, I don't know how in the hell they measured this,
actually
female flies form better lasting memories from sex.
Yep. That apparently there's a protein in sperm that seems to bind with some kind of sex protein receptor in the female that has an impact on their memory. Now, they did it, I'm not going to go into the minutia of it, but you can train a fly with
electric shocks.
To avoid electric shock. I mean, it's very simple classical conditioning, right? Skinner did this with pigeons, and he did this with insects. So this is really not high-level science. I mean, it is high-level science, but in terms of the strategies and how they're able to do that, it's kind of old hat. So they're able to show that these flies have this sense of learning, and the female flies that have mated learned to avoid the electrical shocks. The virgin flies were getting shocked. Right? They just did not have the memories. So here's another good reason to be sexual. It's good for your memory. Now, we don't know why. We don't know what the implications are for mammals or for humans. But
the sex peptide, the protein produced in the male reproductive system and found in ejaculate, was thought to act on sensory neurons in the female's uterus. So it's this kind of domino effect that neurons not required for this long-term memory effect.
So women have
formed.
another brain down there too, not just men.
Right. See, all of this weird conservation thing. They used to say that guys got stupid because if the blood was filling his penis, it was draining out of his brain. But we've seen women act just as stupidly under
That's right.
the influence of sexual arousal.
Exactly. And you know what? Give us some credit. We're doing a good thing. We're helping make women smarter.
Right? If we can learn anything from these fruit flies.
So again, interesting. Where this
Very
is going to go,
interesting.
we don't know. Right? But that is, I like that. I definitely like that.
A little more serious note
Yeah.
by our friend and colleague
Yes.
and faculty at Modern Sex Therapy Institutes, Justin Lay Miller.
Mm-hmm. It's
But
from the Kinsey Institute,
Yes.
the University of Indiana.
one of the most respected sources in our field.
Yes, truly.
And yeah, the title is a little off, a little disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
Bad orgasms. Orgasms are not a universally positive experience.
Now,
So-
this particular study was asking women in particular, not that have had what we would call coercive sex, but women who have had consensual sex. They said yes. But they were also looking at subgroups of women who said yes, but they really weren't into it. Right? They weren't
Which is a lot of
pressured. I mean, they
women,
weren't
right?
coerced. They weren't forced. Maybe they were really tired and really didn't want to have sex, but they gave in to their partner anyway. Maybe there's a little bit of pressure from the standpoint of, oh, come on. You know, so it was absolutely consensual, but they weren't necessarily really into it. And what they found in this study was about half of these women reported having weak or non-satisfactory orgasms. A percentage of them actually said it was unpleasant. Right? Now, what I think is also important about this is not only the idea of motivation and enthusiasm in terms of orgasmic strength, but we almost always, I mean, every dictionary, everywhere you look, if you look up orgasm, every definition is associated with pleasure.
Right.
It's an intense, pleasurable release, an intense, pleasurable experience. And for a lot of people in a lot of situations, it really isn't.
Well, I mean, even when we talk about it like in neurochemical terms, in physiopharmacology, right?
Yeah.
Dopamine and endorphins and adrenaline, we generally think of these as drug effect, as positive drug effects, euphoria.
Right.
But just like, some people smoke weed and get paranoid and anxious, I'd imagine for some people, release of those chemicals doesn't produce such wonderful euphoric feelings.
Right.
Maybe a little anxiety, maybe a little...
Yeah, exactly. We know that there's what's often been called post-coital depression,
Right,
post-coital pain, where sometimes that chemical release has a negative impact on the body.
And it's not uncommon for people, women and men, to cry
Yes.
after orgasm.
Right.
And
right.
it isn't always tears of joy.
No, and a lot of that is related to adrenaline letdown and all.
Right,
We are
right.
these neurochemical beings. What was a phrase we often use in the sexual pharmacology lectures that we give, where we're talking about this. The sex is in this neurochemical milieu, this neurohormonal, neurochemical milieu.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, again, our behavior, what we see, what we think we are doing, is really driven by this physiological chemical system
It's
underneath.
chemical.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for years too. If you think of an orgasm, like we've done a lot of work with addiction treatment centers, and talking to a group of drug addicts, they certainly relate to the idea that an orgasm chemically is what junkies would call a speedball.
Right.
Right? If somebody
That's
mixes cocaine and heroin in the same shot, somebody might think, oh, don't they cancel each other out? No. They kind of enhance each other, and that's
right.
really why so many junkies describe that rush. as orgasmic.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, sometimes it becomes preferable.
I was going to say, it
orgasm.
may even take precedence over that, right?
And I wonder if there's a connection there too, like with substance abusing people, that orgasm could be kind of a letdown compared to
heroin isn't.
With all the and the chemsex, right? Like the guys with crystal meth.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's pretty hard to duplicate that kind of orgasm on steroids.
Yeah, pretty much.
Blowing the top of your skull off with the good old fashioned kind, right?
Right.
But,
yeah, no, that's a really good point. And it's certainly somebody,
And I'm glad.
Justin or anybody on the research, that's worth pursuing.
And we'd like to get you on the show, Justin, and talk more about this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're listening.
Yes. And for our final piece.
Yeah, it's just a nice little feel-good piece.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I think this is definitely a worthy mention. And, again, the British... we've spent so much time trying to break away from them, but, we could learn a lot from them still.
Yeah, and the Germans too.
And the Germans
too. When it comes to
yeah.
apologizing for their past.
Exactly.
We could learn a great lesson from these countries.
So the British government has just pretty much passed a new law. There was a lawsuit that triggered all of this. So this was a court decision as well, a high court decision that up until 2000, the year 2000, being gay, bi, or trans in Great Britain was illegal. And especially for members of the military. So there were a lot of people that were in the British military that were kicked out, and in many cases even jailed, simply for being gay or trans. Now that's being reversed.
Well, and not only kicked out, but of course any
any honors that they got,
and medals were stripped.
Exactly. So now anybody who has experienced that, they're going to get their honors reinstated. They're going to get their medals back. And there's now
even
going to be...
posthumously, right?
Yes, even posthumously. Their families will get those benefits. And there's even going to be follow-up legislation to ensure that anybody who was pretty much hit with criminal charges as a result of this, that's going to get reversed. And then they will somehow get compensated for that.
Very nice.
So, yeah, good way to go, Britain. It's about time.
Salute you, Great Britain.
Indeed. And for our very last piece, we like to end the show with what we call poetic justice.
Usually we call out some hypocrite that was caught with their pants down or in some sexual scandal.
Peccadillo.
Yeah. But in light of the times and current circumstances, we'd really like to call out a special favorite hypocrite.
Yes.
One who embodies the adjective eely.
Mm-hmm. As well as hypocrite and creepy, and again, any not nice adjective you want to use, you can apply it to this guy.
Yeah. But by the time we air this might be well-worn news, but today their senator in Texas, one Ted Cruz, was busted going to Cancun or somewhere in Mexico while his state was frozen and imploding and falling apart.
With no water, and a lot of people with no food and no electricity.
In sub-zero weather.
Yeah.
So, talking about the captain bailing from a sinking ship.
Right.
Ted Cruz, you deserve all our disdain and loathing, and you hypocritical POS. You get our honor this week for poetic justice, although hopefully yours will be served.
Yeah, warm, not cold.
Yeah.
All right, so we do salute you with our traditional raspberry salute. So to Ted Cruz, and may I throw in an additional fuck you.
Oh.
Okay. And that'll do it for Sex in the News. We are the Siegel Brothers. Thank you for watching, tuning in this week and every week. And again, please like and subscribe and notify
and share
and comment.
And comment.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you all for watching. Stay well.